Welcome everyone. We'll give it another minute or so just to give folks a chance to sign in. My name is Elizabeth Allaby. I work in the admissions department. So sit back for just a moment or so, and then we'll introduce everyone and we'll get this started. So welcome as you're joining. I'm just giving everybody a chance to get in, kind of that last rush to get into your last Zoom meeting of the day. So just sit back for a moment and then we'll formally get started. All right. So again, welcome to tonight's student panel. We have a great lineup of non-traditional students for you to be able to ask your questions to. Just a couple of housekeeping pieces. This is a webinar format. You might have already noticed that you don't have your video shown. So we can't see you or necessarily hear your voice, but the best way we want you to interact with us would be to use either the Q&A function below or the chat function. We want your questions. We've got a lot of the pre-submitted questions from you all, so don't be shy. Ask us whatever you've got, and we'll throw it to our awesome non-traditional panelists, and they'll be able to answer for you. So don't be discouraged that you can't necessarily use your microphone. You can still be sure to ask those great questions. So with no further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, I'm an admissions counselor here. A couple of you, at least, I know I've interacted with before, so it's nice to see you back. And then I'll have Kate introduce herself, and away we'll go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions here at MMA. It's great. As Elizabeth said, I'm recognizing a few names that are popping up. So welcome. It's fantastic to see you, and please, we've got your questions, but please ask away as we're talking, and we will definitely get to any questions that you guys have. Our panelists are going to be checking as well and can type the answers so that this panel is for you. We want to make sure that you can get all that you can out of it. But I'm going to turn it over. I'm looking at my grid here to Stephen Wright to introduce himself, where you're from, what you're majoring in, and what your background is. Stephen, I'm going to pass it off. Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. That was weird. Stephen Wright is my name. I am from North New Jersey. I am a marine transportation operations major. And
Stephen, I'm going to interrupt real quick. I don't know why, but you're very quiet. And it was louder earlier. We lost you. We might come back to you.
Prepare your answer, Stephen. Evan, I'm going to turn to you here.
Hey, I'm Evan Rocha from Jamestown, Rhode Island. I'm 35 years old. I'm an Air Force veteran. I did air traffic control for 4 years in the Air Force. And spent a bunch of time doing all kinds of random jobs throughout my life. And I connected with the VA, and they got me here, and I'm a MTO major, so Marine Transportation Operations. So I'm going to be a deck officer in 4 years. So,
Great. Thanks, Evan. Jonathan, I'm going to move to you next.
My name is Jonathan Mcintyre. I am 35. I live in Gouldsboro, Maine. I think I'm probably one of the few Mainers on this one. I am an MEO major, a Marine Engineering Operations major. I was in the Army as an Army medic. I got out of that and decided to go back to school. I'm currently in my senior year, and yeah.
Great, thank you. Lexi, I'm going to turn to you.
Awesome. Good evening, guys. My name's Lexi Petter, and I am an MTO major, so also studying to be a deck officer like these guys. Unlike them, I'm not a military veteran. I'm just a civilian. And my background until I got here was in the yachting industry and in sailboat racing. So that was kind of how I led into my interest in the water. And I grew up in Michigan on the Great Lakes, but I've spent most of my recent years out in Rhode Island.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lexi. Stephen, let's try you again here. Hopefully it works.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Still a little quiet, but speak up a little bit.
All right, I feel like I'm gonna have to yell into the mic in order for me to hear it properly. Stephen Wright is my name. I am from Newark, New Jersey. I am currently attending school as a freshman slash transfer student. Can you still hear me? Yes? Okay. Transfer slash freshman slash non-trad student. I am a 7-year Navy vet. My career has been as a bosun mate, so I've been doing deck pretty much all 7 years of my career, and it's pretty much why I'm attending school now. I'm looking to become an officer, possibly go merchant mariner sea lift command as a 3rd mate. That is my goal. So that is why I am attending Maine Maritime Academy.
Thank you.
I'm really worried about the speaker right now. I don't know what happened, but I'm working with it.
We'll make it work. Luckily, we have these nice subtitles down below. And if you happen to have headphones nearby, maybe that'll help. And we'll come back to you, don't you worry. So I wanted to kind of kick things off. You sort of covered why you chose MMA, which I like. But what is one thing that you enjoy about certainly being part of this industry, this merchant mariner industry? And what are the good aspects, and what are the more challenging aspects to being in this type of industry, let alone school? So I'm going to start with you, Jonathan. You're ready. Thank you.
So with my degree field, the engineering field, why I chose it was I enjoy working with my hands. I enjoy getting dirty and greasy, and that doesn't bother me one bit. The engineering field itself is ever changing. There's always new tech out there. It's new types of engines, new types of pretty much anything and everything you can think of. So that was one of the big reasons why I joined and got into the engineering program. Yeah.
What's a great answer? How about you, Lexi?
So my favorite thing about the field so far as a freshman is just getting the chance to drive bigger boats so far. I took terrestrial navigation last fall, and it was really fun because for the labs we got to go out on the Susan Clark, and we got the chance to dock it and undock it. And I'd never driven a boat quite like that, so it was pretty cool in my first semester to already be experiencing bigger, badder boats.
That's awesome. But wait, I'm going to force you into the second part of the question. What's challenging about the industry?
It's probably pretty predictable, but I'm in the minority as a woman, so that comes with its own challenges. Most of the time, that's pretty fun because you meet other women, we all kind of nod to each other like, yeah, we're doing this. But I'd say that's probably the most challenging part at this moment.
How about for you, Evan? The coolest part and maybe the most challenging part about being in sort of the maritime industry at a school like this?
I didn't spend any time on the water for most of my life. I grew up in Rhode Island, so there's boats everywhere and boat people everywhere, but I really wasn't a part of it. And I don't really know a whole lot about it yet, other than what I've learned these first couple semesters. But I got to tell you, it feels like a perfect fit for me. With my background in the military, it really seems like that prepared me for this in a way that I can't really explain. it feels like there's meaning behind it, but yeah, I think the challenges will definitely be, if you decide to ship out, you're going to be taking gigantic, the biggest vehicles in the world across the biggest bodies of water in the world with a small amount of people, so that's probably going to be the challenging part in this career field, but the rewards are massive. And depending on your personality, that might not be very hard for you. It might be something that you actually enjoy, going on those long voyages. But that's not the only thing that's available too. It's really diverse. Like you could come here and get a degree and get a job on shore doing something. So it's really up to you. Yeah.
So totally no pressure.
That's what I really mean. It is no pressure though, because there's so many things you can do, so, but yeah, otherwise.
One thing that I think is really neat, just hearing the backgrounds between Evan and Lexi having had a lot of experience on the water, or Stephen coming out of 7 years from the Navy versus Evan, not a lot of experience on the water, is we as a school don't expect you to come into this with a lot of experience. We're okay either way, of course, but we give you all those skills and those pieces, so that way by the time you graduate, Evan and Lexi or Evan and Stephen are going to have those same credentials. So something I wanted to point out, I'm originally from Indiana, so it's always nice to say, hey, it's okay if you don't already have that water experience. All right, Stephen, are you ready?
I hope so. Can you guys hear me?
That's a little better.
I'm wondering if it's the battery. I just plugged up the charge a little bit. Okay, good.
You sound much better.
Much better. It probably was the battery, so that's good. Can you ask the question one more time so that I make sure?
What is the most rewarding, coolest part about being on a campus like this in an industry like this? What is the most challenging part?
The most rewarding is really if you're the type of person that likes to travel, if you like to do a lot of hands-on activities, if you're just comfortable around the water, like I've heard everyone else on the panel speaking of, it kind of just feels like this is a bit of home for you. So if I go ahead and utilize my experience in the Navy, one of the reasons why I knew that this would be a path that I would want to pursue is because of my experience around the water. Before the Navy, I had never actually been around the water. And during my time in the Navy, I've done 7 years of deployments. All of my time has really been out at sea. We would come in for a couple months and then we're right back out at sea. And I find it to be very relaxing, standing watching in the middle of the night, when it's dark out and all you see is the stars, and then it's the open water and you can kind of just watch the wake out on a fantail. It's a very relaxing meditation type of an experience. And I really, truly enjoyed it. The military itself, for those who might actually be veterans within this group, I'm pretty sure everyone can agree it can be extremely stressful as well. But it really does build a sense of camaraderie. You having to go through the same experiences with your shipmates, you end up building a group that you can honestly cherish for life. I have friends from all over the world that I have grown very close with, and we're constantly reaching out to each other, constantly checking in on each other, and it's always love when we see each other make rank. And a lot of guys that I mentored during my time in the military, I'm watching them grow, and everyone loves being out on the water. It's an awesome experience. So I wanted to take it to the next level and go to be an officer so that I can continue to do this and travel around the world, and just the hands-on experience has been amazing. There's so much to learn about this field, and as Evan mentioned, there's a lot of great opportunity as well. A lot of money to be made in this field. A lot of different areas you can go into that I wasn't even aware of until I got the exposure. So that's what I find to be cool about it. The most challenging would probably be, I guess, if you don't have the prior experience, it can be a load of information for you to kind of gather. For even with me being a deck major and going deck, I have to learn all of this stuff about engineering, and I don't know anything about engineering. So that's been a challenge for me. Is kind of just kind of getting all of that information to soak in. I mean, you have 4 years to gather as much as you possibly can, and you end up having people who are in the same boat as you. So we kind of learn together. We help each other out and help push each other. And in the end, that's what's going to, it'll be the challenge, but that's what's going to be most rewarding is when you get through it all and you have a plethora of information at your fingertips. So.
Well, it sounds like both Stephen, you and Evan are kind of learning a new language here. So you're jumping right in 2 feet forward, like
absolutely,
immersed.
absolutely.
Yeah. This was not by design, but it is what happened. The 4 of you are in regimental majors. So one of the questions that was pre-submitted was, what is the regimental dynamic for someone who is older than the other students in the regiment? I might turn to Evan. It looks like you're ready to go, but it's also fitting because you've just gone through, as a freshman, kind of being introduced into this regiment. So it'd be great to have your fresh experience.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to get Lexi's point of view too. For me, again, this theme of having being a veteran, having prior service experience, it really helped me in the beginning. This RPT thing that we had to go through, it's basically a mini basic training that everybody goes through, and that can be really challenging for some people, and but it's also really a lot of fun. And if you're prior service, it's going to have notes of the actual basic training, which I was really impressed with. It really gave me, I don't know, it kind of brought me back, and I really had a lot of fun with that. But then once that is over, as soon as that's over for the non-traditional students, we go straight to having first class privileges, which is senior privileges. They also going back to the RPT thing, that they really don't focus on us as much during that. Even they kind of look to us more for guidance and to sort of set an example and lead by example, and kind of bring everybody else along and sort of lead behind the scenes without anybody really realizing it. But as far as the rest of the regiment goes, it's pretty easy. Nobody really bothers us. We get the first class privileges. Sometimes people might get a little envious of that, especially if they're juniors and they don't, and they, and we're freshmen and we have the first class privileges. So that can be fun for us and not fun for them, I guess. But it's really not much of a bother. Like I said, I enjoy it. That's, it kind of brings me back to my days back in the Air Force. But for somebody, Lexi, who doesn't have that background, I'm not exactly sure how she feels about it. Maybe, I don't know. I just don't know. So it'll be interesting to hear how she feels about it. But yeah.
Well, thanks, Evan. No, that's a perfect, that's the kind of response that we wanted to hear from somebody that had that prior background coming in, kind of having to do it all over again. So thank you for that.
It was also much
over to you by default here.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm the only non-trad in this group who's not a military veteran. So I'm much softer than these gentlemen. I went into RPT kind of eyes wide shut. I very intentionally tried to learn as little about what I had to go through as possible. And that actually was a really good approach, because there were days when it was just a fun adventure to wake up really early when people yelled at me. I actually did celebrate my birthday during RPT too. So trust me, it can still be fun. My dad sent me a cake. Yeah, nothing like turning 27 in a residence hall in Maine. No, life is good in the regiment. Like Evan mentioned, you do get your first class privileges like the second RPT is over. We get the sewn-in khakis right away, which are something that the freshmen really covet and envy about us. And they're a little more comfortable than some of the other uniforms. I think the biggest thing about the regiment that I have grappled with as someone who doesn't have the military background is sometimes there are requirements that you're just kind of expected to do, and you got to show up, you got to be early. There's no questions asked, no negotiating, which in like a lot of the rest of the world, you can, you know, kind of work with people on that, but these are hard and fast rules. And so having to just kind of adapt to the rigidity of it has been, for me, honestly, sometimes challenging. You know, my background didn't have that kind of intense structure. But that said, like, you know, I could have used a little more discipline in my life, so it's ended up being a really positive thing.
Great, thanks, Lexi. No, that's a great perspective to have, especially somebody that has a different background coming in. Then we've got a whole mixed bag of non-traditional students. Stephen, how are you doing with your mic?
I think I'm good to go now.
All right, let's hear from you.
Well, my answer really isn't going to be too much different from what Evan has already shared. If I have to start from RPT, I could honestly, as transparent as possible. It was pretty tedious, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you are a military veteran, having gone through boot camp, which is, I mean, pretty much 2 months long, the RPT can be one of those things where it's like, oh man, are you serious? We have to do this. But it's 10 times as easy. What I took pride in doing while I was going through the process is, rather than paying attention to the tedious small activities that we had to go through, it was pretty fun mentoring some of the younger guys who actually thought that this was more of a challenging experience, not understanding what the actual message behind the activities were in the regiment and the RPT process as a whole. There's a method to the madness. And for those of us who have already been through a process far worse, we understand that to a greater extent. So it was pretty cool for me being able to with my boat crew, you know, teach some of the younger guys and explain to them, like, listen, man, this isn't hard. This is all mental. You know, you just got to tough through it, and remember that you know, the sun rises and the sun sets every day. So where it may feel like it's a struggle, you know, the day will end, and then you walk into a new day. And you know, it's on for it to be like a, you know, 5-10 day process is extremely easy. So being able to be in that position and kind of help motivate these guys to make it all the way through without struggling and feeling like they want to drop. I took more pride in that than anything else. The regiment itself, like Lexi said, this is kind of for military personnel. This is stuff where it is normal, you know, to wake up early in the morning. I have to go and muster or check what normal civilians would call check in the morning. This is something that we did all the time. So it's not really a big of a deal for us. The same thing with wearing the uniform and grooming standards and different things like that is standard procedure for us. So it's not really as big of a deal. For non-trad personnel, as Evan already mentioned, we do have certain privileges that just kind of makes the entire transition a little bit easier. I think the overall understanding is that you know, for a lot of us, we've already gone through the struggle. Even if you're not a military vet, you could have dependents, you know, be a mom and have to deal with raising children. So you have different experiences in life that actually push you in a position to be able to claim to be a non-trad student, especially if you're an adult and you've gone through different forms of life. You're not just coming out of high school. They understand that it's a much different procedure, and some people are a bit envious. Some people don't like the fact that these things exist for us, but you know, at the end of the day, that portion of it doesn't really matter. You have to understand that you've put in the time to be able to earn and deserve the position that non-trad students actually have. And I would say take it as a blessing and not allow it to be something that you rub in people's face, but just understand that you've done what you had to do to deserve the position that you're in. Embrace it and continue to teach, if anything else, while having these privileges. So it's pretty much all I really have to say about the experience as a non-trad in terms of that.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. That was great to hear that insight. Jonathan, I'm going to move to you next, but before I do that, there's been a few questions that have been posed in the question and answer that have been answered by our students typing the answer. So as an attendee, if you can't see those answers, put it in the chat so that we can make sure to answer them verbally. We just want to make sure that you get your questions answered. That's why we're here. So if you can't see the answered questions, definitely let us know. But I'm turning it over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you. So unlike the other folks that are here with us, they're all in their freshman year. I've been at the school for almost 3 years now. One of the big things about the regiment is they're trying to give you that team atmosphere and build on how to work as a team. That's the point of RPT, is to, instead of thinking about just yourself, is to think about the team, because when you're on a ship, it's just you and the 20 other people that are on the ship with you working together. That's why they go through this mock basic training, is to help build those team values and try to come together as a team, work to achieve the same goal that the person next to you is doing. Again, I'm a military vet, so coming through it again was very easy. If you don't have any military background, the only advice I can give you is take it one day at a time. Understand what they're doing is trying to just help you build on those team building aspects, and just take it day by day. Sometimes it's not the greatest, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's boring. You just gotta take it a day by day.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to say one thing just to make sure everybody was on the same page. So RPT, what all of our panelists have mentioned, is that regimental preparatory training. Historically, it has been a 10-day training period. Our first-year students would come in 10 days before that fall semester would begin. And that's, I don't know, can I even call it a boot camp? It is the training that puts you in the regiment, gives you all those skills and that knowledge that for this upcoming year, I believe it's going to be about 5 days. Don't worry, you're still going to get all the knowledge that you need. It's just been shortened a little bit so we can accommodate for our summer cruise. The one thing I wanted to ask, because I don't know what this means, and I don't know if you'll necessarily have 4 different answers, but what is a first class privilege? What a privilege, like what does that mean? What are you able to do that maybe somebody coming fresh out of high school is not able to do? Jonathan?
So some of the biggest things that is uniform styles. As a freshman, you wear, they call them freshman blues. It's a different uniform. It's to help, I won't say help you stand out. It's just for us upperclassmen to know that you are fresh to the school. You may not know, the ins and the outs, and it's just a way for us to, if we want to take you in and show you the ropes better. First class privileges, and the further you go up in your years, you also get different dining times. If you live on campus, you get uniform times or regulations. If you live in the dorms, it depends on how much stuff you feel like having in your dorms. As a freshman, you're not allowed to have a TV in the dorms, but as a non-traditional or a first class or a third class, you get to actually get a lot of those additional stuff in there. But I live off campus, so I have all that stuff anyways.
Did anybody want to add?
Did you mention the pathways?
Yeah, I was just about to talk about the pathways. So one of those tedious rules about being in the regiment and not being a non-traditional student is that there are certain locations that you are not allowed, certain pathways you're not allowed to walk through throughout the campus. They basically cut out this the idea of you taking shortcuts to get to your locations, and I can't really speak too much on what the reason is behind that. I'm pretty sure there is a really, really good reason behind it. But if you have the first class privilege, then you are allowed to walk through any pathway that you pretty much that you please, which is good. Another thing that comes with wearing the uniform. So we do wear the uniforms that a lot of the upperclassmen wear. We are also, if you're a military vet, you are allowed to wear your military ribbons on your uniform as a representation. What else? There's the ability of living off campus. If I'm not mistaken, you are, as a freshman, you are also allowed to drive. I know the freshmen who are not non-trad and don't have these first class privileges, they are not allowed to drive their first year. So you are allowed to go ahead and drive your first year coming in as well. I'm not sure what else I might be missing. It's gotten to the point now where I don't even really pay attention to it too much anymore. It's just
Fair
kind of,
enough.
you know what I mean?
I think I didn't hear it if it was already said, but you can wear your civilian clothes, like at the mess deck and anytime after 4 o'clock. You can have like
What?
you can have a mustache. That's usually a senior privilege, right there.
Or you pay for it.
Or you
Or
pay.
is that a COVID privilege?
Yeah, they like to do a no shave November thing, and if you pay enough money, it carries into the next semester where you can have. So no shave November, if you pay, you donate money to a charity. So it's all that money can all come back to you in your taxes anyway. So you're not really losing anything. But you can pay enough to grow a full beard for the semester. Normally you got to shave every day. And then, or you can pay another certain amount and you get a goatee, and you can always have a mustache.
Paid a
Lexi
lot
takes
of
advantage of
money.
that one, right?
Yeah.
But there are regulations regarding mustaches. So,
It's more of a privilege for the guys, but
Oh, and I don't know if there are any women in the seminar, but with your hair in the regiment, you have to wear it like back and in a bun, like in the military, or it can be cut above the collar. I look a little too masculine personally when I have my hair that short, so I just put it in a bun every day. Those are your options. Yeah, and you're allowed to wear makeup if it's like a neutral tone. You can wear earrings if they're not ostentatious, and they have to be studs, no rings. And the mask has allowed me to get away with my nose ring, so I need to take that out.
The one thing
by Mcintyre.
The one thing I was going to add, it is a requirement to live on campus if you're under the age of 21. Typically, our non-traditional students are older than that age. And freshmen are not able to have cars on campus. However, if you are a non-traditional freshman and you're not living on campus, yes, you can absolutely drive your car. It's just, we have limited space and we would like to reserve that sort of as a privilege for the upperclassmen. So I just wanted to say, yes, you can drive your car.
Well, I'd like to pose this one out to you guys because I know a couple of you have commented about where you're living. There were several questions that had come in early about finding off-campus housing, the distance from campus that off-campus housing is in, how hard it was, the resources that you used. So if you guys could help us give kind of the spiel about what it's like to find off-campus housing, where you're living, what is it all about to be able to live off campus, and where can you live in relation to the school?
Mcintyre, I think you should start on that one.
So I probably live the furthest away. I'm about an hour away from campus. I commute every day. As for house hunting or apartment hunting, coming in, it's a little bit harder because you're probably going to find something just for you. A lot of people who are renting apartments usually get roommates, and after you're here, it's a lot easier because then you just kind of talk to the people that are around you to find those roommates. There is really no stipulation about how far away you can live, but you got to keep that in mind that, you know, if you are in the regiment, we got to be there at 7 a.m. every morning. So I'm usually up at 5 in the morning to be on the road by 5:30 to be here on time. Living that far away, I bring my lunch. I either bring my lunch or buy food because sometimes you're there all day. But best, and this is what I did looking for an apartment, was I just got on the classifieds and started looking around. That's really, now these other guys, they might have a little bit different of a story because again, I was looking for a house for me, myself, my wife, and my 3 kids. So I was in a different kind of category these guys are.
Yeah, I live about 8 minutes from campus. And the housing I found was through friends of mine who were alumni of MMA. And so I think the people you're meeting right here, if you're looking for off-campus housing, I know we all are on social media and we also have emails you can access. I think we're probably your best resource, frankly, for finding housing, because a lot of what I found was through word of mouth if you want to be in Castine. That said, like, Mcintyre said, you can check the classifieds, but finding stuff that's local is a little bit tougher, and the students kind of pass on the housing to the next class, to the next class, to the next class. And so it's not always going to be listed online somewhere.
Evan or Steven, do you guys have anything to add?
Well, my response is pretty much the same. Just in terms of my experience in the beginning stages, looking for anything that was within the vicinity, and also because I didn't come down here with a car this year, plan on doing it next year. So I wanted somewhere that was going to be close to the campus as possible. So I actually live like a 5-minute walking distance away. In the earlier stages, it did not seem like I was going to be able to find a location that was close by. Lexi already mentioned it. You really do have to kind of know people within the area so that when a spot opens up, is not immediately taken by someone else. You have the opportunity to go ahead and jump on that. So that's one of the disadvantages if you are not aware. I would highly suggest MMA does have a Facebook page. I think maybe like 2 different Facebook pages actually. Get on there with your class and just pay attention to people that's up there posting different things. One of the perks that I had was actually being on there and just following what was going on. Somebody posted somebody put up a post basically saying if anybody was looking for off-campus housing to reach out to them. So that was one of the things that I did. At that point, I got suggestions about looking on Craigslist and different things like that, the classifieds. And then also someone who helped me out through admissions while I was in the process of applying to this school. She actually put me in touch with my roommate. And while I was going through the summer process and just waiting for things to fall into place for me to come to the school, my roommate was consistently reaching out to me and asking me how the process was going in terms of me looking for a location. And I was telling him that I was having issues, and he had a few suggestions here and there, and then he let me know, hey, we have a spot available here where I'm staying at. If you don't mind having roommates, you can move in here, and I'll talk to the landlord and let him know about it. So things just kind of fell into place just for me kind of being on the official MMA site on Facebook, and then networking. Networking is so important. It's extremely important. So the more networking you do, the more opportunity will open up for you. The more things you'll stumble across, and that'll be your best bet. But off-campus housing, again, because so many students have taken up the areas around here, it's a little bit more challenging. If you have a car, it makes it a little bit easier. You can find a few places like right outside of Castine, probably about like a 20-minute, 30-minute drive, or you could end up in Jonathan's situation and be driving like a whole hour plus. It really just depends, but there are options. Just get out there and network as soon as possible. Do not wait till the last minute to try and look. As soon as you're sure of where home is going to be for you for the next 4 years, which I'm hoping will be MMA, go ahead and start searching for those housing opportunities as soon as possible, because they fill up extremely fast. It's like registering for classes. If you're not there in the beginning stages, you're going to have a hard time getting what you want. So.
Or you can be like Rocha.
Yeah, I signed up for school 3 weeks before RPT started. These 2 wonderful ladies got me involved, Kate and Elizabeth. I was inquiring about the spring of this coming thing, and they got me in. Luckily with COVID also, I think. I'm the only person to ever say that, luckily for COVID. But I got in 3 weeks before. So I also was in the middle of RPT and I didn't know where I was staying still. And luckily, they found me a spot here in the Commons. I was thinking that I would be staying in Curtis Hall, which is like the regular dorms and everything. And I was all prepared to do that. And they said, okay, you got a spot in the Commons. So I've been here, for last semester, and then we went home for winter break. I just piled my stuff up in the middle of the bedroom. Like I had to sort of unpack it all and lock the door, turn the key in. And then I came back just for this semester, unpacked it, and I'm back here. And I gotta say, I really like it here. I don't have a roommate right now. I don't know why, but I'll take it. It means I have 2 rooms all to myself and like a little kitchenette and a bathroom, like a full-size bathroom. Well, I guess it's not a full size. It doesn't have a tub. It's just a stand-up shower. But yeah, I mean, like I walk 100 yards to the chow hall. All my classes are in walking distance. I don't really have to drive anywhere. I got parking right outside the back here.
You got it all. So
Yeah,
the
it's really kind of perfect for me.
Yeah, the Commons, for those that don't know that term, are the apartment style housing that we have on campus. So it is almost like living off campus while you're still under the MMA umbrella, which is really kind of nice, as Evan turned out. Basically, what we're hearing is start early. If you wanted to reach out to us, we can get you in touch with the Res Life team to figure out common housing and dorm housing. But if you're after a certain age, living in the dorm might not be for you. And so definitely reach out to both Elizabeth and I. Will be putting our emails in the chat a little bit later on, so that ask any housing questions. There might be some additional resources we can get in touch with, or even connect you with some students that we know are, moving out of their houses and figuring out who those landlords are. So you're not doing this in the dark. We're here to help as well. But these guys are fresh on the hunt, so they know the resources better than we do.
Go ahead.
So someone asked me a question in the Q&A. It'd be easier for me to just talk instead of trying to type it out. So if you are a vet who is...
So Jonathan, can you read the question out? Because only we can, I think, see the questions. Nobody else can see them, so
it says, I am assuming you're getting the GI Bill housing allowance, and I understand there are some complicated formulas for determining how many days you are given per month and calculating the housing for that. If that is correct, what do you think the average turns out to be? Of course, December, I assume, 0, and the 3 months are 0. So... with Laura, who is the teaching coordinator for Maine Maritime Academy, the post 9/11 chapter 31 GI Bill, you don't really get a housing allowance. What they do is they give you a one lump sum payment, and that payment is also included into your GI Bill. With that, you don't get to use your GI Bill for the summer, because you're only allowed 36 months, and school's technically 9 months, so 9 times 4 is 36. So if you're looking to come in with just the GI Bill, I also highly recommend trying to get as many scholarships. You don't really want to have to find that job during the school year even though there are plenty of jobs out there, especially with the admissions office, to just make sure you can focus. And if you get enough scholarships, that's money that goes into your pocket. And if you budget it well, you can make it last the whole time. I got friends who are using their GI Bill, and they go through scholarships and their GI Bill, and he doesn't work and he eats pizza like every other day. So I hope that answered that question.
I like how pizza is your gold standard. I'm on the same wavelength.
Well, college students, and, I don't think I could eat pizza every other day nowadays, but that's just me.
Oh, that's awesome. So I had a question for you all, and maybe some of you have been able to visit campus before. Maybe you Google mapped where Castine, Maine is. We're sort of midway up the coast of Maine, but we're quite rural. So Jonathan's about an hour away. I'm guessing you're kind of near the Bangor area, but just to sort of, oh, what a bad guess then. You don't have to reveal where you live. Bangor is the nearest city to us, about 40,000 people. Acadia National Park's about an hour away. But because Castine's, in my opinion, a village, what do you guys do for fun here? Like what do you do in a place like this?
I go to Acadia a lot. It's kind of my weekend tradition. I go up on Sundays. It's a good way to unplug. Castine, as Elizabeth said, is a village. Villages are lovely and everyone's looking out for you, but the problem is that everyone's lovely and they're always looking out for you. So I go up to Acadia on Sundays when I can and just go for a little hike. And otherwise, if you have to do grocery shopping, if you live off campus, that can be a bit challenging sometimes. Bucksport is the small town that's also pretty close. And it's like a 20-minute drive. But yeah, I know that's not fun, but I thought I'd mention that.
That's an important consideration. Where do you even buy your groceries? Blue Hill is about 30 minutes away. That's the bigger grocery store. Bucksport's about, depends how you drive, 20, 25 minutes away. But yeah, what else? What do you do in Castine, or in and around, I should say? Jonathan?
Well, Ellsworth is
Maine?
actually only 30 minutes away, or well, 30 to 45, depends on how fast you drive. That's your, I would say, the closest Walmart. A lot of grocery stores are out that way. There is a grocery store in Bucksport, which is 15, 20 minutes away. I live up going towards Acadia. I won't go say how far towards Acadia, but I'm up that way. You got Acadia, there's hiking trails all over the place. If you want to go skiing, if you're into that, if you go a little bit further north, there's that. Me, I'm more of a tubing kind of person. I like to sit on my butt and go down the hill. So I do that quite often with my kids. But overall, I usually stay quite busy with my kids and schoolwork. So.
Perfect, thank you. Thought you were gonna say tubing down a river. Forgot about
that can happen
tubing.
too, but it's a little cold right there for now.
How about you, Stephen? Since you live within walking distance, you're kind of on the peninsula.
I don't know. Castine is a village, so the best advice I can give on the situation is make friends. That's where the fun is going to come from. Make friends, because they'll expose you to what's fun out here. I'm still learning it as we're going. I haven't had the most time to actually go out and have fun. The weekends, I find myself to be pretty busy. When it was warmer outside, there were more. It seemed like there were more activities, but as Jonathan put out, there are locations not too far outside of the vicinity. If you like snowboarding or skiing and different things like that, it gets cold enough out here, you end up getting the snow. There are activities that you can do in terms of that, but making friends is your best bet, because then when you have those hiking trails, you can go on those hiking trails with friends. Just recently experienced a bonfire with some friends, which was really, really relaxing and really, really cool after a long week of schoolwork. So it really is up to you to just get out there and make friends with people. And you're going to end up, if you're not originally from Maine, you'll end up meeting a lot of people that are from Maine. A lot of people that attended school are from Maine. And these guys, I've heard people telling me all kinds of things about Arcadia and the different hiking trails and going ice fishing, which I've never ever done before. So I'm actually looking forward to trying that out at some point. When things ease up as far as my schedule is concerned, I want to see what ice fishing is like. So you make friends, they'll show you what's fun out here. That's very important. And I think your best bet, if you are trying to get engaged in some activities.
Nice. I was waiting for somebody to mention snowmobiling, ice fishing, hunting, in addition to, hiking, camping.
Not enough.
If you are an out, sorry, go ahead, Lexi.
I'm just kidding. I said there's not enough Mainers here.
If you're an outdoorsy person, you'll be right at home. If you are more of an urban person, it'll be a transition. What about for you, Evan? What do you do since you live basically on campus?
Drive
Well,
to Chick-fil-A.
I'm basically a high school dropout and I haven't been to school for 17 years. So I spend a lot of time in the books and doing homework. It takes me a little extra time.
That's okay.
Especially with the shortened semester this particular year. I think going forward, it's probably not going to be quite like that. Normally it's like 16 weeks. So it's a little more spread out. But I think if I can adjust to that. Anyway, I know we're getting off topic. I'm getting off topic. So
No, that's okay. That's great. And one thing that you highlighted, there aren't a lot of distractions, so you are able to focus.
I do kind of like that, but when you do want to be distracted, like there's things to do, for sure. And I really liked what Steve said, because in a place like this where it's a little more secluded and, especially if you're not really outdoorsy, you got to make friends. And those are the people that get you through. I actually, now that I think about it, like I spend an inordinate amount of time in the chow hall just talking to my friends over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'll play on my phone and we'll talk and we'll joke and laugh and stuff. And that's like mostly my free time, is just spending my time with them like that. And then I'll do my homework all night. I'll go to the gym, clean my apartment. I like to keep it neat. Helps me think.
You'll be a good shipmate.
And then, yeah, I'm gonna need to be minimalistic and organized on a ship, right? Bolt it down.
But no, those are all.
Yeah. So, and then I like to get to bed early, get a good night's sleep for the next day, because we do wake up early. Yeah. So.
Well, those are all great perspectives. I kind of wanted to follow that question up with opportunities out at sea. So in terms of being a non-traditional student, getting engaged in some of the sailing that Maine Maritime Academy has, whether it's on the team or with the Bowdoin or some of the other vessels that we have, we're going out to sea as a non-traditional student. Have you noticed any piece of advice coming out of that? I know some of you guys are at different stages in your college career, but any insight would be great. I'm going to start with you, Lexi, because I know you're on the water a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to plug the waterfront earlier, actually. Felt bad for not mentioning it for fun things, because it is where I spend an inordinate amount of my time. The waterfront's great. I think Jonathan will probably be able to speak more for like the career opportunities, as he's more advanced in his degree than I am as a freshman, but you can get involved with the sailing team if you know how to sail or want to learn how to sail. And there's supplemental seamanship, which is a really, really cool thing MMA has that I don't think enough people take advantage of, where you can go down and use all the boats on the waterfront. And someone will be there to make sure you don't, crash or anything. But you get to go play around on the boats and just, get experience. And, Castine is a really fun place to go out on the water, because we have some ripping tides and crazy shoals, and the weather can be really unpredictable. So you're learning in like a kind of a difficult environment, which is really good. So yeah, the waterfront's awesome. The staff down there is amazing. And there's always opportunities to get out on a sailboat, powerboat, and just get more time at the helm or learning how it all works.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, somebody had just posted a question in the chat, which parallels the question that we're talking about in terms of the trips that happen during the summer on the vessels. So we're kind of encompassing all things boats in this question. Does anybody want to jump in? Anybody got something to add here?
So since I think I'm the only one who's actually done a cruise with Maine Maritime, I'll chime in here.
Yeah, thanks.
Cruises themselves on the state of Maine, the training ship state of TSOM, They hit up, they usually rotate between going across the pond over to Europe and then going down south to the Caribbean. So you usually get an opportunity to do that. Unfortunately, this year, because of COVID, we'll be going down south, but we're not going to be able to get off the boat. So, which is going to make a little bit of a longer time, but again, it's a shorter cruise than normal. Typically, when we do pull into port and we're allowed off as a non-traditional student, if it's not your watch day or your utility day, there's a couple of different things. You get off first thing in the morning and you don't have to be back till midnight. You're allowed to do whatever you want. The only big thing is don't come back intoxicated, because that'll get you in a lot of trouble. As for some of the career out there, the biggest thing I can tell you is to make friends. A lot of it's about word of mouth. If you've got friends on ships and they know they're looking for people, they can put your name out there, and that's one of the biggest ways to get a job. There's always the applying, but sometimes that word of mouth goes a lot further than just applying for a job. I think that answered the question. I'm not entirely sure.
That was great. Yeah. Stephen or Evan, do you guys have anything to add into this one? I just looked at the time and I realized that we're getting close to 8 o'clock. So if any of our attendees have to run, we very much understand. Thanks for coming, but we're going to hold on for another few minutes while we wrap everything up here. And then we'll get you guys back to your homework.
Yeah, I think John pretty much summed it up. Again, I'm a freshman, right? So I haven't had the chance to go on cruise yet, but as far as I understand, like that's how it's gonna be, yeah. But, we do have to do some preparation for cruise, and that is something that you might want to be really proactive with. Get a jump on it. Like make sure you have your passport, your TWIC card, stuff like that. That's going to be really important to have all that ready to go. So, yeah.
Jonathan, did you want to jump in?
I had a thought and I lost.
That's okay.
There was a question earlier through the Q&A that someone had asked about, what would be the major, if you want to go a licensed career, what would a good major to go with? I will tell you, your freshman year coming in, whether you go MTO, MEO, anything like that, the courses pretty much are almost identical. You're going to get a well-rounded view of what being on a ship is like, and you can make your decision after your first cruise. A lot of the times that's what happens. Someone will pick one major and then, it's not really for them, and then they go to the other major, or, they switch majors altogether and go, shoreside and stuff. So there's that aspect of it. You don't have to be dead set on a career choice when you first get there. There's flexibility to make those changes if you want to.
Nice, yeah. I would add, if you start in the regiment, it's much easier to switch out as opposed to if you start in a non-regimental major like ocean studies, international business, vessel operations technology, or the power engineering. It's not impossible. You might find that your love is really out in the sea and will work with you. So don't count that out as a possibility, but most of the coursework aligns pretty well. It would just be making up that regimental piece. But one thing I wanted to throw out to Evan and Stephen, still on the topic of boats, and I know we're running up against time, but what did you do in the fall down at the waterfront, if anything?
Ask that question again. What are we doing in the fall with what?
Down at the waterfront, were you aboard a vessel? Were you on the docks? Were you on the state of Maine doing different trainings?
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, we're on the boat almost every day. Yeah, maybe not every day, but it feels like it. During Mug Month, well, if you're non-traditional, you probably won't do it, but they like to move people down onto the ship to live there during the whole Mug Month thing, which we won't be participating in. But I think sometimes they do move the non-traditional students down there, but the non-traditional students live on the O2 deck instead of in the berthings, which is, basically like you have your own personal suite instead of being in a sardine can, like racks of people all, so that's much better. But then we play with the monomoys, we row, we have races. We're just learning how to be the coxswain, the guy who steers the boat. We learn how to row, we learn all the commands. We jump off the ship into the water. We take tours of like the engine room. We do watch. We do a fire and security watch, which is what the deck officers would be responsible for. And then we do a EA, which is engine watch. So you got to go through and check all the gauges and everything. And those are, 4-hour blocks of time. What else is on the water in fall semester?
Do you have anything to add, Stephen? Thank you. You're on mute.
Sounds like he kind of hit on a majority of it. Most of my time, if I'm on the ship, if I'm not standing watch, which we do have to collect 200 watch hours in order to complete our licensing program. So you'll have the opportunity to go and get familiar with the ship just from standing watch. You have a few classes that'll require you to be on a ship as well. Maintenance is one of them, where you'll go on and they'll kind of teach you how to fix certain equipment, do checks on certain equipment, change oil, different things like that. You'll basically be learning about the systems. Also, some of the pre-cruise requirements will have you doing different kind of piping schematic drawings and different things like that. So it'll get you exposure to certain things that you didn't know anything about. So that's been my boating experience. There are other activities. Sometimes they'll take the boating out, just for fun, and people are allowed to come on board and kind of experience what that's like to go out and sail on a boating, which is pretty cool. But outside of that, I don't have too much more experience in terms of being out at sea or getting to experience being out on the waterfront. That's kind of what it stems around. For me, for the most part, it's just been all school activities if I'm out there.
So basically what you guys are all saying is that you're very busy. We keep you very busy.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Sorry, Lexi, you were just about to say.
Oh, it's exciting. The boat turns 100 this year.
She does.
She's our schooner. She's awesome.
She is our Arctic.
Might be a birthday party. You're 100. That's awesome. Well, unless there are any more last minute questions, feel free, but we're a couple minutes past the hour. We don't want to keep you and we don't want to prevent our awesome panelists from their schoolwork. So before I throw it to you, Jonathan, give me just one quick sec just to say, I've put Kate and my email addresses. There are little names next to our Zoom squares, and I've also thrown them in the chat. Please be in touch with Kate and I, and if you'd like to be in touch with our panelists, shoot Kate and I an email, and we will connect you with our panelists here.
I did also want to mention that there is a non-traditional club and group on campus, and I don't know how many of you guys are part of that. You can speak to that, but it's a great way to meet other non-traditional students, one that have coming with a range of life experience. And so it's a nice little pocket of community on campus that you can relate to. So I just wanted to mention that. Last thoughts. Evan, it looked like you had your hand up. I know, Lexi. You guys had last minute thoughts too. So have at it. We'll let you guys finish it up.
You actually reminded me of something I wanted to say earlier. With one of the perks to being a non-traditional student is we tend to like stick together a little bit, and work together on things often. It's sort of like a little support group. Everybody kind of you know, if you're a veteran, there's also a veteran lounge where a lot of the guys will sit and do their work and tutor each other and help out. And then a lot of the non-treds, you know, we all hang out and stuff. So it's a nice little support group. It's good. Yeah, that's another perk.
Certainly, being a little bit older and knowing what you want makes you more open to that kind of collaborative study. That's what I noticed. But, Lexi, did you want to add?
Evan kind of summed it up, but yeah, if you guys and the attendees can't tell, we're all kind of friendly with each other. It's because we're all actually friends in real life too. Because the non-trads tend to hang out together, and like I'm in a group text with most of these guys, and yeah, it's a nice community.
Awesome. Jonathan?
We all hang out together. You know, we all know each other, or we know of each other. You can definitely tell the non-traditional students from the fresh out of high school students. So there's that. There was a question that was thrown out there towards me about seat time, what you're looking for. Depending on what you want to do, there's plenty of jobs out there that actually you don't have to go out for 3 months at a time. There's jobs out there where you do 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. It's just finding that job that's actually the right fit for you. Me personally, I don't want to disappear for 3 months at a time. So one of my big goals is just to find a job where I think 6 weeks, leaving my family for 6 weeks, I don't really want to do any more than that. I do know there's jobs out there like that just because of the friends I have out in the industry. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. So.
Great. Well, thank you guys all for kind of wrapping it up. As Elizabeth said, if there's any other questions from our attendees going forward, please shoot one of us an email and we will connect all the pieces and make sure that you've got the contacts that you need and the resources that you need to make the right decision for yourself. I know it's a big decision to go back to school or to transfer schools or to come out of the lifestyle that you have now and to come into this environment. So we're here to make your decision as comfortable as possible. But I wanted to thank our panelists for their insight. This has been super valuable for all of us. And we're going to say goodnight. These guys have work to do. They've got to go to class tomorrow with their assignments done. So we're not going to take much more of their time. But thank you guys all. And we're going to sign out here. Good night.
Have a good one, everybody. Thank you so
you.
much.